Well, that's what Putin is saying he wants. But what he really wants is wants to keep Ukraine and other countries near Russia under his thumb. He does not want them to be democracies because he views that as a threat to his system of government, where he's a forever president and where he runs basically a kleptocracy, which benefit him and other oligarchs that are close to him but don't benefit his country. So the idea of Ukraine moving more towards a democracy, strengthening its democracy, is a threat to him and to the system that he wants to govern the countries near Russia. I don't know if he's going to be willing to settle for anything else, and I don't know if President Biden is going to accede to his demands that the U.S. commit to not moving forward potentially with Ukraine eventually maybe joining NATO, eventually maybe joining the EU, and with the U.S. and Europe putting in other military capacities to ensure we can contain Russia. Those will be the subjects of the discussion today. It's a very high stakes discussion.
Let's talk about options that might be on the table. President Biden reportedly considering economic sanctions against Russia to stop Putin from invading Ukraine here. So what types of sanctions are being discussed, and what impact could these sanctions have on Russia potentially?
Well, I think sanctions is going to be the first thing that the U.S. does if it has to try to deter and discourage Putin and Russia from potentially escalating the war in eastern Ukraine. I would think that they would target people close to Putin and people involved in the military. They would make them specially designated nationals, which means they are persons who are blocked, who can't do any business with the U.S., can't do any business with U.S. persons, can't do any business with U.S. banks or the U.S. financial system. I think that could help, but it's probably not going to be enough. So the question is, what more is the U.S. willing to do? The U.S. is already providing weapons to Ukraine, including lethal weapons. Is the U.S. going to increase the support that it provides in terms of weapons? Is it going to provide advisors who are going to help Ukraine defend its territorial integrity? The U.S. has not been clear about that. The Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, a couple of days ago gave a public speech, an interview. He said just that the U.S. would help Ukraine defend its territorial integrity, but he declined to explain what he meant by that. So far, we don't really know what the administration is willing to do other than sanctions.
Yeah, lots of questions right now. Not that many answers. Wanted to get your opinion. Are we likely to see war break out between Russia and Ukraine?
I really don't know. I hope not. It's important to remember that they are already at war. They've been at war for 7 years. More than 10,000 people have been killed in eastern Ukraine in that war. So the question really is Russia really ready to send in these 175,000 troops, which would be a massive escalation of the war and a full-scale invasion of Ukraine? And I think that really depends on what the U.S. and NATO countries do, whether they're able to deter Putin from doing that or whether they're able to reach some sort of compromise that satisfies his demands. And right now, we just don't know.
Yeah, and we're all watching very closely. Former State Department official David Tafuri, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.